Hello Exiles, this is Ryan from Behind Eyes Gaming and welcome to another Path of Exile 2 video. In today's video I'm going to go over my days 2 and 3 thoughts on my Bleed Amazon using primarily Rake, but a bunch of other different combo pieces in a build that I think turned out pretty well. So far my progress has been reasonably smooth. I'm level 73, I currently have 50 deaths, so died quite a bit, but yeah, I think I've kind of got the hang of things. I'm starting to die a lot less, possibly still on occasion. I've only just started building defenses. My played time, not super accurate, 36.5 hours. I spend a lot of time AFK the last couple of days. I had D&D yesterday, which is why I didn't put a video out yesterday, but I kind of stayed online to trade while I was doing that over Discord. Alright, so I am first going to quickly just do a map here. I'll do this Abyss because potentially I can just do the bosses. It is cleansed, it's got Delirium and a map boss, and nice little cleansed effects of a bunch of additional packs and more effective prefixes and less of suffixes. I'll just pop into tier 5, so hopefully I can start getting yellow maps on the map boss, assuming I can do this. It is going to be one portal because I'm running a 6 mod map. I've only run a couple of 6 mod maps, and I think they buffed temporal chains, and I don't have any slow magnitude or debuff, any way to mitigate that, so I think it's going to be like 22% slow here. Oh, it says temporal. Maybe I'm not doing a temporal chains map. But anyway, playstyle is pretty normal-ish. You get in there, you attack with Rake, you occasionally kick back, and then you get a huge bonus for attacking from a long range with Rake. I have a bunch of new tech to generate some additional damage. So yeah, Delirium, and on the highest tier map, probably going to end up being a little bit slower. Oop, take some big damage here. But I'm trying to mark the right guy. Well, that didn't work out, but that's okay. It's hard to land my marks properly. Very bad at aiming into packs that contain rares, because ideally you'd want to get the mark on it right away and you'd get it all set up. Try to outrun the Delirium for a little bit at least. I think I probably have enough tier 15 skills. Oh, yeah, and it doesn't help that I have no cast speed or no mark cast speed. Sometimes you kill rares pretty much instantly. Sometimes they take a little bit. Yeah, kill speed's not terrible. It kind of just depends a little bit. I have a lot of stuff set up to where I get a lot more damage if I'm, farther away with Rake when I start. So if I have to attack things close range like this, kill speed's a little bit worse, but if you get a nice max distance hit with a high roll and a crit, you can one-shot rares sometimes, which is very satisfying. Yeah, get the little explosions as well to help out. Yeah, and sometimes it seems like the bleeds don't... Oh, I know. I actually put the hemo crystals on my... I think I have to take that off. So I decided to try out, as per suggestion, the hemo crystal support, and I already noticed the difference in clear. So it is actually actively detrimental. No, I don't. Do I have it on Bloodlust? Maybe I moved it entirely. Nope. Okay. Well... interesting. Clear, just my blood explosions don't seem to be doing very well. Boy, I probably with one portal should not be just standing in the middle of everything, huh? I've only recently started building defenses. I got pretty used to being pretty tanky, but it's still not worth a risk of losing my portal before I get the boss. I only have 2 ascendancies because I didn't get any Jin Baryas until basically from Act 5 up until just recently, and I got 2 of them, so I didn't have any level 60 plus Jin Baryas until just a little while ago, but I didn't feel like doing my third ascendancy just yet, so I will do that shortly. I have a couple now, so should be able to do that. They nerfed the minions for the rares, which is nice. I'm applying a nice little shock when I get back, and I'll talk about that when I go over the skills, but applying shock gave me another 20% more damage multiplier. You can see a lot of shocked ground all around. Hopefully that's mine. I can't really tell when it's mine and when it's not, unfortunately. And I guess I'm just gonna rush through a little bit though, get to the boss. I mean, you know, I could spend all day here just killing everything, and I'll give everything I'm running a bleed build, so there's no reason I can't be just swiping things and walking away, which is something I absolutely should be doing. I should probably take that stone charm, although I have stuns pretty much worked out. I don't really get stunned, so alright, that's dangerous unless I have it, but I don't want to engage 2 rares right on a shrine. Get the max distance, get the shock down. Okay, grab this. Yeah, even the regular guys are doing a bit. I got an annul. That's my first annul. Nice. Alright, this should speed everything up just a hair. See if I can figure out where the boss is. I'll try to spend a little less time on white mobs. You can kind of click past behind them and your guy will just scoot around if you want, you know, the giga clear speed. But it's dangerous, of course, because you're basically surrounding yourself. So you gotta be a little careful when doing stuff like that, but if you're not running as many mods, or if you're more defensively sorted than I am, then it shouldn't be a problem. Oop. Yep, got the nice rare kill there. Get a really high aggravated bleed crit. I'm going to, my damage is actually going to skyrocket soon too. I want to talk about some tech. I hadn't bothered looking at some of the new uniques yet, or some of the old uniques that may work on this build, and there's 2 uniques in particular that work incredibly well with this build, one of which I can slot in with ease once I get my jewelry set up. This is one of the 2 bosses that I hate the most because it's hard to target, all of the other one being the Titan, of course. It's really painful, especially with an auto-targeting skill like Rake, because sometimes you scoot around to like a certain side of it. I should be, well, I don't know for sure, because I don't remember what mods I have. Yeah, I need to, I also can't tell if I've marked this enemy. I mean, I know I must have because I'm building stun bar with the bleed, but he doesn't seem to want to, yeah, see what I mean? The Rake took me over. I could have executed him a long time ago with my Q with Blood Hunt, realizing that, but I kind of panicked because it's this boss in particular, but it wasn't that hard, I guess. I thought it was going to be harder than it ended up being. I'll kill a little bit more here, just to demonstrate. Alright, and then we'll get out of here, and also to not, I guess map sustain seems really easy now. That's one of the nice changes. I'll get over some of the less nice changes, and actually there's some kind of good stuff in the end game as well that I wasn't expecting and that wasn't announced, particularly related to how you kind of scale your maps, from what I can tell. And I'll talk about that a little bit too. Alright, let's move stuff around here maybe so I can, am I going to be able to pick up that bow? No. I guess I don't really need there you go. Alright. I don't need blacksmiths that much that I should be picking up superior weapons. Alright, go ahead and get that. I guess I should have looked at it first at least, but just habit. Habit that none of the rares are really worth looking at. And then kind of stash away some stuff. I hope they add affinity tabs for runes soon. That would be great. Got some tier 6 maps to run, both dropped as rare as well. Very nice. And just throw this here. 59 life, reduce charges, not bad. Okay, so now I will go over the character. I'll start off with kind of just my overall stats. Currently running 1751 life, for a little over 4k evasion, starting to get a lot more now, 48% block and 338 armor, which is, fairly trivial, but I guess you won't get chipped to death. I have all of my elemental resistance sorted, but only 10% chaos resist. It is going to be a priority to get the chaos resist sorted, but I'm going to lose probably either my helmet or my boots and all of the resists that come with them. I guess probably my boots, because I lose less resistances there. It's a little bit cheaper, but I'll have to see how much the uniques are, because like I mentioned, there are 2 uniques that have bleeding, and I will pull them up here. Modify, or go over to items, unique, pull them up on POEDB. Bleed. Well, I guess I search in this bar and not Control F. All right. So the 2 uniques that I'm looking at are the Smiling Knight Cowled Helm and Beetle Bite. Beetle Bite aggravates bleeding when you enter presence, which is 4 meters. I'm pretty sure when I jump back using disengage, it's a lot more than 4 meters. So that's one of the options. And the other one is the Smiling Knight Cowled Helm. Now, this is probably better because I don't know, there might be situations where I can't exit and re-enter presence very easily. So maybe this will be worse. And the helmet has crit chance as well, which scales very well with the build as well with accuracy. Honestly, this helmet is kind of custom made for this build specifically, or at least it seems that way. So looking at the prices, I have not looked at the prices, but the Smiling Knight Cowled Helm, if I pull that up on POEDB, lots of people selling it for 1 elk, and Beetle Bite currently 5 elks, chaos, exalt, couple regals, looks like 1x for the most part. So they're both very cheap, so neither of those should be an issue. Other stats I have are 28.9 move speed. I got my movement speed on here and a little bit of extra, and then of course you get the negative multiplier you get from having a shield and body armor, unfortunately. And then I have a decent amount of stun threshold, I think, which I don't know if that's really listed in here, but yeah, it doesn't look like that's listed in here, unfortunately. But yeah, that's something I'm built towards. I have, stun threshold on body armor, on shield, on boots. So just a decent amount of stun threshold, along with some percentage stun threshold on the tree. Speaking of, I'll go over the tree next. All right. So currently I'm kind of in the middle of connecting some things. So I'm going to path through here, and then I will be able to spec out of these 3 dex points, and that'll give me a lot of evasion. So next level I'll get enhanced reflexes, then I'll just take 3 points out of somewhere, connect these 3, remove these 3, and then put the points back. And that will give me, that means next level I'll be gaining 75% evasion at the cost of 15 dex, which I'm kind of a little soft capped on the accuracy and crit at the moment anyway, so it's not giving me that much benefit. I might lose 1 or 2% crit chance, and my current crit chance is 82.25%. Once you hit about 135, I've gotten it to 136, but it seems that accuracy has diminishing returns as far as what you get from the Ascendancy critical strike. So there's a certain point where you don't really need to invest that much more, and I think I'm pretty much there. Maybe 8% off. So getting rid of some dex, and especially considering I still have some accuracy I might pick back up. I was previously in versatile arms, but got rid of that. But more specifically, same kind of start. mostly just beelining down towards splinters, of course grabbing Primal Instinct just because it's the area of effect. You don't get a lot of that. Getting some AoE is nice. I'm skipping the Jewel Socket for now, but I will be, of course, replacing that at some point. And then I can spec out of one of these, and that would be useful as well. So kind of saved me a point there, but I only have one good jewel. I just bought this. I actually exalted, so I bought this for 5 exalt. It had the stun buildup, melee damage, and magnitude of bleeding, and then I slammed a stun threshold, which is something I do kind of value on this build. As you can see, I get deft recovery and the points leading up to that. So that is quite nice. I'd like another jewel like this, or maybe one with magnitude plus crit damage bonus. I'm not really sure, but past that, got crit damage bonus here, got crit damage bonus on Javelin, got crit damage bonus on Heartbreaking, bringing my grand total, including the 21% multiplier that I currently have on my spear, to 426%. So not bad, and still a lot that can be scaled that way by getting a better weapon, although this weapon is actually incredible. I got this in Act 3, and I'll kind of tell the story about that when I go over my gear, but I got really lucky and managed to get an incredible spear for very cheap, and I actually made an extra divine in the process, which helped me upgrade some of my other gear. So yeah, escape velocity for a bunch of evasion, and movement speed. I guess I could kind of get out of this and go here and grab the jewel socket as well if I wanted to. I don't really think it matters that much either way, but I needed evasion and didn't really have it. So defensively, I also have some block down here. It's not too much. It's 5, 5, and 12, so it's 22% block on my 39, bringing to 48. So works out to about 9% block. The percent block on the tree is not flat in this game compared to POE 1. It is, in fact, based on the percentage on your shield. So having a really high block chance shield scales this even better, and at some point I'll upgrade this, but this one was quite good. For the amount. I think I got it for 3 exalt at the time, and considering it has pretty good block chance, very high life, stun threshold, and lightning resistance, which I needed, and of course a little bit of extra defenses, this really suited my needs, and I was very happy to have this. And no, I don't use parry, and I won't use a buckler because the base block chance of bucklers is terrible. It's 20% at a baseline. Compared to like the 27% on the hybrid armor evasion shield. So probably going to be using those more than likely. We'll see. But yeah, that's a big difference, especially considering what kind of block chance you get from the tree compared to flat. If it was flat, it wouldn't make that much of a difference. So I had previously been in wasting, but that's a lot of extra points. I also got fast acting toxins. I did not properly understand how the blood loss mechanic works. Now I do. So now I know that fast acting toxins is very good, but I needed points for a specific reason, because there is a fatal flaw with bleed, and that is that bleed, you can't do any bleed damage if the opponent doesn't take damage to their life, which means energy shield enemies, you have to get through the energy shield before you can start hurting them, which means the best way to do a bleed build is to scale the hit and basically not scale the bleed itself that hard. I still do have some bleed scaling, like I have, as I said, the magnitude here, and I also have deterioration because it wasn't out of the way at all. This requires like an extra point and then to go up into a lot of points. And honestly, I've even thought about speccing out of these and just using those points to go up to Throat Seeker, truly. So yeah, getting magnitude is great, but it's something you should do only if you don't have to go out of your way, and possibly only on like jewels and stuff. As you saw in the boss, I managed to build up the blood loss very significantly, fairly quick, even without, you know, a lot of magnitude and a lot of damaging ailments deal damage faster. So yeah, it's not a huge deal if you just scale up your actual hits. That'd be great. Tainted Strike's one of the best things for this because you get the added bonus of crit chance, which will scale off the base crit chance you get from your Ascendancy. And you also, oh, this is non-damaging ailment, so never mind. That doesn't do anything for that. This is just a lot of crit chance. I misread that and thought it was damaging ailments initially. So less good than I thought, still good because you do need crit, of course. So yeah. It's possible that maybe even this whole area down here is not super efficient, and maybe it's better for me to move up towards Deadly Force and that kind of thing, and then later on I can get a little bit of an extra HP pool with like Spectral Ward, pathing near there, plus that'll put me up by like Throat Seeker and a bunch of these really nice nodes that are in here as well, like Style Bender, Killer Instinct, Tenfold Attacks, all pretty decent. Really nice things that you could potentially pick up pathing through this, and you get a jewel socket. So very possible I cut this whole area. Maybe I take you know, the glancing hits instead. It's technically more efficient, but you do take a little bit of extra damage, and I figured I was already up this way. This is less points for the major node, so I thought I'd go this way, but maybe I take glancing hits and go up this way instead. And yeah, just attack damage, crit, accuracy, some magnitude if you can swing it or if you need to swing it. And that is pretty much the tree. It's fairly basic. Deft recovery is very important. You definitely want stun recovery and stun threshold. Getting stun threshold on this is really nice. Actually, stun buildup would be pretty solid as well, just to kind of chain CC things. I don't really have any other than a little bit currently on my Ruby, and I got some stun duration on my weapon. And that's pretty much it for stun buildup. And splinters as well. Splinters gives a little bit, which also increases my armor break that I do with Bloodhound's Mark using Single Out. So build that up quickly. I also will probably at some point get Shedding Skin. It'll give me reduced duration of ailments. I also have for free specifically on Herald of Blood, I have Warm Blooded, which gives less freeze duration on top of that. So that's going to help a little bit. So grab these. It'll be harder to freeze. When I do get frozen, it'll be for a significantly shorter duration, and hopefully I can survive. Then of course there's like some pretty solid accuracy stuff in this area as well. So there's still lots of stuff to consider. Getting stuff like Rapid Strike might be worthwhile. Possibly going into like Attuned with Nature. Maybe I go back this way, and then if I do that, I can grab 8% move speed here, which will help me map faster. Not going to help with a lot of other things, but if I get to the point where clearing is trivial, I'd grab that plus acceleration, and that'd be 11% increased movement speed for pretty relatively nearby points. So lots of stuff to consider. But this is how it looks now, and this is working perfectly fine. Very happy with the setup. Have 69 strength, nice, 201 dex, 27 int. Now let's go over the skills. I am currently on, I have 4 supports on my Rake, and then 3 on everything else. So I currently have this Rake, which is not corrupted because I am trying to quality it up. I only got 1 GCP so far. And then I have Heft for more maximum physical damage. This is the one I would put on last. So I think in terms of order of importance, Heavy Swings, your best damage support, then Brutality, and then Heft and Momentum are kind of both on the same level. Momentum is conditional in that you have to be 2 meters away, but 2 meters is very short. It's very, very short distance, so you really can activate it quite easily. It's like half the width of this well, give or take. Like, think of your character, and if you laid them down, that would be roughly 2 meters. So the amount that you kick back from disengage is way more. In fact, does disengage have no, it doesn't really give a distance, but yeah, it's way more than 2 meters. It's way more than, like, it's probably like 10 meters or something. Difficult to say because we don't have a range indicator, although I think we have that for presence now if you hover over it. I just don't have any items that have presence. So yeah, that is what I have going on Rake, is heavy swing, brutality, momentum, and heft. Then for Blood Hunt, my finisher, I have Bloodlust. Can't cause bleeding, that's okay. We're going to use this to get rid of the bleeding. Deals 30% more physical damage against bleeding enemies. Combo finisher, we're not using this frequently, so we just use both Rake and Disengage, which are strikes, to set this up, and 40% more damage, really huge. And then I just put Conk Effect on here because I figure, just another more damage multiplier. You can also put Conk Effect instead of either Momentum or Heft on Rake, but I like being able to hit large groups of enemies at once with Rake, so you can kind of, get everything exploding with Heralded Blood. So I think Conk Effect feels a little better on Blood Hunt, and the part of the explosion, the consumed blood loss, is not going to be scalable, but the initial hit of 155 and then the explosion of 310, those are scaled, and we still do just a lot of regular damage, like completely no supports or anything. Spear Stab, just for reference, is doing almost 14.5k DPS. So our just raw damage is good enough that you can really kind of get a lot out of that as well. Speaking of, Disengage also has pretty high damage scaling, 225%. So this is part of what we use to break energy shield. So I'll go in, I'll hit with Rake, and then I'll disengage out. With Disengage, I have Rupture, which aggravates bleeding on heavy stunned enemies. So I use this on bosses to aggravate the bleeding, and then you can kind of finish with Bloodlust. I have Shocking Leap, which supports skills that leap into the air. I think this works. I think it counts as a leap. You jump backwards. It doesn't say leap, but it does say jump. And I'm able to support this. And yeah, I definitely see Shocking Ground pretty often, so it must work. But it only does it if they critically hit. Nice thing about this, we still have 82.25% chance to crit with Disengage. And then of course Rage. Just something, we need something to generate Rage. I'm going to try to get a jewel that has Rage generation on it at some point in the near future as well, so that we're generating it with Rake and Blood Hunt as well. So this will just help us build it up faster at that point, but I don't currently have that. So those are going to be what my setup for that. Bloodhound's Mark have Arcane Tempo to cast faster, Single Out, and then Demolisher. So now we're really leaning more into the increased armor break, which helps break energy shield quicker as well, which is important because the hit portion, we need that to get rid of the energy shield so that the bleed can take over and do damage. And then we do a lot of incidental damage just with our regular hits on top of that. Thunderous Leap, Martial Tempo, and here's where I put Hemo Crystals. I've tried this on several things. I tried putting it on Blood Hunt because it's suggested. I simply do not think it works on Blood Hunt. I think this consumes the bleeding, and then Hemo Crystals can't consume the bleeding, and it does literally nothing because I never once noticed the crystals forming. When I used it on Blood Hunt, I watched for it. I tried to look, and I simply did not see it. So I feel as if this doesn't work with other things that consume bleeding on hit, unfortunately. But I just put it on Thunderous Leap. I figure if I jump into a crowd, they're bleeding. For some reason, instead of like maybe my Disengage is on cooldown, because it does have a brief cooldown, I Thunderous Leap out and maybe I cause some crystals and kill some things behind me. That's pretty much the only reason it's there. Thunderous Leap exists solely to get over gaps and like in emergency situations when Disengage is down. So that's because, as you can see, when I disengage, there's a 1.5 second cooldown. It's possible I get myself in a bad situation and need to jump out. So that's there. Wind Dancer got precision, of course, gives a bunch of crit because it gives % accuracy. And then we have cannibalism for some life recover on kill. And we have blind. When we get hit, Wind Dancer does its little gale force explosion, which does a decent amount of damage. And that will also blind enemies, making it harder for them to hit us and easier for us to hit them, although we'll never have a problem with that in the first place. And lastly, Herald of Blood with magnified effect, physical mastery, and warm-blooded. I was previously giving this a chance to bleed with lacerate. However, the bleed is so low from Herald of Blood that you basically can't proliferate from it, just because the percentage portion doesn't scale anything. So you basically have to bleed you would have to scale the bleed off the very low base physical damage. Maybe you could do it if you had a lot of jewelry and gloves with flat physical damage, and then a very high accuracy rating on your spear, like the highest tier accuracy rolling plus the 2 greater vision runes with your penetrate. Which, by the way, I've respect from predatory instinct to penetrate. The damage is higher with this overall, and the accuracy does give more damage than the percent physical, even with the flat physical on here, at least at tier 7 flat physical for the spear. I looked at them both, and it is higher damage to have accuracy. So with a total of 300 accuracy, we are getting 75 flat damage from penetrate, which is significant. That's 75 average damage, so that would be basically like, you know, having an extra portion of your weapon that does 50 to 100. Is that right? Yeah, 50 to 100 damage. Or like several. Actually, you can't even compare that to jewelry because you can't get it that high. So even 300 accuracy, which isn't anywhere near what you can get, is providing almost half a weapon, basically, or about a third of the whole weapon worth of flat damage, even though this is a pretty well rolled weapon on top of that. So those are the skills. Lastly, I'm going to go over the gear. Gear, so most important thing, spear. Fun thing about this spear is that I got this in Act 3. I bought it for 1 exalt. It had only on it the percent fizz, tier 3, the percent fizz and accuracy hybrid, tier 4, and the crit damage bonus. It was a 3 mod. Somebody must have basically regaled this and hit it, and I bought it for an exalt. And then I slammed, and the first slam I got the stun duration. I'm like, that's not bad. Stun duration is good for the build. It's utility. Then I got the 2 life per enemy hit. I'm like, okay, I don't have any sustain. It's not a lot, but fine, whatever. Would have preferred attack speed or crit chance, but I'll take it. And then I closed my eyes and prayed to Chris Wilson, RN Jesus, and boom, hit the fizz damage. And later on, I found a slightly better spear. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm just going to sell this. But then I'm like, rather than selling it, what I'll do is I will just corrupt it. And I had a second socket. So now this is better because I corrupted the other one and just hit like 1 to 23 lightning damage as a corrupt on that. So I went ahead and just sold that for 1 divine. And I got to keep this one, which is better because the lightning damage does 0 for this build. So pretty cool. I'll probably upgrade it eventually, but honestly, this is decent enough probably to get me into red maps, I think, provided I keep scaling up in other ways. So, especially when I swap over to like unique helmet or boots to get that aggravate. So yeah, pretty happy with this overall. Helmet, it's life and resists. Not much more to say. It's just the best life and resist helmet that I currently have. It's providing me 34 cold resist and 35 fire resist, which I need because I am barely, I guess I'm well over capped on fire resist now, but that wasn't the case, and I barely 78% cold resist. So barely over that. Body armor, this is an okay body armor, but it definitely needs replaced. I should probably go over what I actually bought and what I self-found. So as far as things I bought the spear, as I explained previously. I bought this helmet, and then I bought this shield. Everything else I either self-found or self-crafted, and it's definitely going to show on some of these pieces of gear. So this body armor, I found it on the ground and exalted it. It had, I think, like the life, the percentage evasion, the stun threshold, and the fire resist, and then I slammed the flat evasion, unfortunately bad roll, and the reduced bleeding duration on me. Definitely could have been better, but it's fine. I definitely want like a 1k to 2k evasion body armor at some point, but this is going to work for now. This amulet I've had forever. I just, you know, kind of took it. I think it had crit damage bonus and evasion rating or something, and then I regaled it and hit accuracy, and I'm like, okay, I'll just close my eyes and exalt a couple of times, and the other stats I hit were all kind of bad, except I guess strength, which I kind of need. So yeah, this is fine. It's doing stuff for my crit. It's making my gems a little easier with the strength, and 37 evasion is nothing to scoff at. So I'll probably replace it, but it's just kind of mediocre. The shield that I bought, I explained it a little bit earlier, but yeah, this is excellent. Tons of life, tons of block, stun threshold, high lightning res. For this early in the game, this is an incredible shield, and it's probably, other than the spear, the piece of gear I'm the most happy with. And I'll probably keep it for quite a while. This ring is some random campaign ring that I had. It's item level 51. I think, I don't even remember, I must have found it in like Act 2 Cruel or something. But it's got Mana Leech, it's got a ton of accuracy, it's got some all resist. Honestly, this should be very easy to replace, and I'm shocked I haven't done so already. My rings are next on my list though, because both of them are in between mediocre and terrible. And yeah, that's a good way to describe this, between mediocre and terrible. But the accuracy gives a decent amount of crit. If I pull this off, you can watch my crit chance, 82.25 goes down to 79.2, but because of those diminishing returns, even though I lose 562 accuracy, I only lose 1% base crit, which is less than 3% total crit. So honestly, my accuracy is getting high enough and is only going to get higher, especially as I get like enhanced reflexes, which is going to give me 8% dex, which is going to be 16 dex, which is a lot of accuracy. What is it? Like 80 accuracy? Okay, maybe it's not that high. Yeah, it's not that much, but it'll help mitigate it a little bit, I suppose. Is that right? That can't be right. So it's going to give me 8 and 2. Yeah, 16. And 16 times 5 is 80. Oh, less than I thought. Well, at least it's going to give 30% evasion rating. And then other ring, this one has rarity on it, so I'm a little, and it has high life, so I'm actually maybe going to hold on to this one until, you know, I can get something comparable. I don't need the amount of dex or int that it's giving me. Those are irrelevant numbers that don't, you know, affect my ability to use anything. So really, this is a 3-stat rare with 108 life, 16 rarity, 29 lightning resist on a ruby ring implicit. Other than that, it's doing like nothing for me at all, but it's actually quite fine comparatively. These gloves I've had for a long time as well. Campaign item level 51. You can kind of tell that in Act 2 I upgraded my gear and then stopped upgrading my gear until almost yellow maps now, because I have a bunch of item level 51 stuff. So I must have just farmed up some gear and never bothered upgrading it. 3 to 7 fizz damage to attacks, accuracy. I mean, these are all good stats. They're just small amounts on a bad base. So yeah, we need way more life, would like, you know, higher flat fizz. Levels to melee gems would be fantastic. There's a lot of stuff I could do with gloves, so these gloves will get replaced as well, probably shortly after this ring gets replaced. Also, this belt is kind of bad. Yep. 45 life isn't great. It's got some resists on it. Now that I'm less desperate for fire res, although once I replace this helmet, I guess I'll be even more so. This should be an easy belt to replace though. It's bad, I should replace it. Finally, boots. Boots, 30 move speed, and some cold resist, and a very small amount of stun threshold. Yeah, these are quite bad as well. This is the other option to replace. I have to decide between helmet or boots, and I'm not really quite sure what I'm going to do just yet between the two. Because the boots are a little bit harder to deal with. Then I have an Amethyst Charm because I have 10 Chaos Resist, so I need it so I don't die immediately. It's also got some Guard and some reduced charges per use, because anytime I go into a map that has any amount of Chaos Resist, I constantly have to kite things and spam my potion because, you know, I don't have Chaos Resist. I will die. So this has probably saved my life a million times already. Just that extra 18% Chaos Resist. Until I can get some more, this is staying on. If I get another charm slot when I upgrade my belt, or maybe 2 even, then I might put like freeze immunity, swap out warm blooded or something, or, you know, I'll figure out something. But yeah, this just has to be here until I get some more Chaos Resist. That's the way it is. Then of course we have our flasks. I don't really need my mana flask, so I didn't bother qualitying it. Because I currently have mana leech and do a decent amount of damage, I'm never low on mana, and they also nerfed the mana costs of things this last patch. So yeah, this is just sitting here doing nothing at the moment. And then the actual relevant flask I do have qualityed. It's got increased amount recovered and gains charges per second. Not great numbers on either of those. Well, the amount recovered is pretty good, I think, but the you know, you can get up to 0.25 charges per second, but I don't think I'm quite at the item level where I can do that. All right, and that is everything, I think. Oh, last thing. Currently don't have much of the tree, have only done the first 2 zones of corruption. I'm gonna go up here, grab Grueling Journey, then maybe over to either Rising Danger or Fortunate Path into High Road through Quantity. I'm just going to get some Quantum Rarity and some Explicit Modifier stuff for now. And at some point, I'll be getting Unstable Energies. And I think the actual mechanic I want to go into is going to be Rogue Exiles, because I like Rogue Exiles. But we'll have to see. I also think maybe Strong Boxes are good now, but I've seen some pretty okay Strong Boxes. And I know strong boxes act like chests now in PoE 2, so if you start getting some pretty heavy like Waystone modifier thing and make it so you have the increased chance for researchers strong boxes, I actually think that could be quite good. There's some, oh yeah, there's strong boxes openable twice on here too. So yeah, and hidden horrors. I think strong boxes might be a good mechanic now, honestly. So I might try that out. Look, these are actually solid nodes that make me excited to take Strongbox, or I might go Rogue Exiles. I'll probably do both at some point. I'm just not sure which I'm going to do first. There's also Essences, which look interesting. The Wisps, I don't know. I don't think the Wisps are super exciting. They seem okay, but not great. I don't notice the loot being that much better when they possess the monsters, and they do seem more dangerous than they are rewarding in terms of, I think they make the monsters harder than the amount of loot they kind of turn over. Maybe that'll change as you start scaling things, as they become like an additional scaling modifier on top of things. But as it currently stands, I don't think it's worth speccing into Wisp. So it's in between strong boxes and exiles for me. And obviously I'll be getting Tablet Effect and Remnants of Power and Unstable Energies at some point, because I still think those are kind of staples. So either way, and with 40 points, we'll see how the pathing works out. All right, that was a long video. Hope you enjoyed anyway. If you've made it this long, boy, yeah, consider becoming a channel member. Thank you for watching this long. Either way, it would just help me make, you know, more videos, keep me a little bit, you know, financially stable, give me a little bit more time. This has been Ryan from Behind Eyes Gaming, and I'll see you next time. Bye.